Happy birthday, America, 250 years. I don't know what you did for that day, John, but there was this dude who bundled up 250 Roman candles, bungee strapped them, went out in his field. He was wearing short overalls, red, white, and blue, cowboy hat.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Yeah, watch me. I'm going to blow all this stuff up and you're going to see some explosives. This is either going to go really cool or really cool." And so he put him in the middle there. He lit up a big torch flamethrower and he lit those suckers up. And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Really?
Merca. Yeah.
You saw this with your own eyes or on social media?
On social media. Watch the video of this guy. Anyway, happy birthday to America. And we've been spending some time thinking about this because I don't know. I'll talk for myself, John. The struggle of Christian nationalism and the extreme party ideations, and everybody's fighting each other, and the economy is feeding the rich and struggling for the poor, and all these, man, we got problems. All God's children got problems. And it made me not head into that 4th of July, that 250th birthday, as excited as I should be. So I did a little homework and the more homework I did, the more I love my country. And I thought this is really important because one of the things I wonder, John, tell me what you think about this, and then I'll stop
Hmm.
talking. If we had to go to World War, if we had to have our young people stand up and fight for a concept of freedom and for a nation, would they have the stomach to do it? Because it sure concerns me sometimes. Maybe they wouldn't. Am I just an old guy rambling about young people?
That's a terrific question. No, I think we could do it. I think we could totally do it. There's no doubt in my mind. Even if the people you think wouldn't on social media,
Yeah.
even if you were right about that, the amount of young men you don't see and the amount of young men who already joined the military, of their own accord,
Yeah.
we'd be fine. I was also not, I hadn't even really thought about it. 250, I remember thinking about the bicentennial a lot.
Yeah.
I saw some pictures of the parades. This would have been 1976, of course. And I remember thinking, man, it would have been cool to live through that. And
Mm,
then I hadn't even thought about it this year. People start talking about 250.
yeah.
And I go, hey, time moves on. I'm going to catch 250. I
Yeah.
missed 200, but I'll catch 250. And I was not excited about it until I watched this video from Ross Douthat, which we will link in the description.
Great
A
video.
very
Yeah.
He's a terrific thinker and speaker for the New York Times opinion section. He's a center right Christian interviewer. He's really good, and it got me hyped up. And I love a lot of things about America, but it's
Yeah.
been harder to say sometimes that I love America. But in even a typographical level, it's a country built on coffee. The whole world's finally catching up. China's getting onto coffee, but the rest of it was all about tea. Sipping tea, taking your tea
Bleh.
breaks. America runs on coffee,
Bleh.
and we get stuff done. A little
Yeah.
anecdote, when James Cameron went to go film Aliens, the sequel to Alien, and he filmed it in England, and he never worked with a British crew before, and they start taking tea breaks.
Yeah.
American James Cameron says, "What the hell are you doing? We got a movie to make." That's America. America is jazz and coffee and
And get her done.
and get her done and dreaming and doing, and it's very exciting. I love all America stands for in that way.
We're dragging this out, but in the bicentennial, I was alive for that in 1976. My dad was still alive. He died in 78. And no, yeah, 78. Anyway,
So you were
uh,
14?
I was 16, so he must have died in
6? Oh,
80.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the thing that's interesting is they produced cars for the bicentennial. Chevy had a couple of
Mm.
car models that came out in bicentennial branding. So they had white with some red and blue trim work, and they had it seems like the country did a whole lot more around the bicentennial than they did about 250. 250 is a big deal.
Yeah. Maybe well, if we make it to 300, let's see what kind of hoedown we got going for 300.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be around for that, John. That'd make me 114. So,
I'd be 81.
yeah, you'll be there, but talk to me in heaven unless the Lord comes. Just look up to heaven and say, Dad, you wouldn't believe this. 300 years, this is what it's looked like. Tell me
Look
all
at the
about it.
Chevy they made for 300.
All right, so we're
Okay.
going to talk about
Yeah.
the greatness of our country, and we're going to talk about the kind of men America needs now. We had great men build this country. We think there's great men that are needed now, and we think you can be one of them. So, John, walk us through the four quarters, and then we'll dive in.
First quarter, we always have a four-quarter conversation for every topic. The first quarter this week is an amazing beginning talk about the ideas from jump of what this country was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Some really amazing facts about it. Second, can a great nation become a good one? When we say a great nation, we
Hmm.
mean in the same way that Genghis Khan was great and Alexander the Great was great.
Yeah.
Goodness is a different entity, a different quality, and can it be both?
Man, I love
Third
that
quarter.
distinction, and I thanks for that. I'm excited about that conversation.
Yeah, me too. Third quarter, the men America needs now. The hope, if we're going to make it to 300, the kind of action we can take with this sort of energetic optimism that we can still generate. And fourth, excuse me, practicing dual citizenship as far as being American citizens and citizens of the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, that's a lot. And when we talk about the men America needs now, if we're going to, if the great United States of America is going to become
Mhm.
the really good United States of America and have a future, it takes a lot to build that. Before
No
we
doubt.
start, John, here's our opening shtick. What is your favorite national park? We were thinking about doing all this stuff around the nation. So today, John, and I'm wearing my USA hockey jersey. We won the
Woo!
gold medal for the first time since the Miracle on Ice this year. So I thought I'd wear my hockey jersey for this episode. John, what's your favorite national park?
My favorite national park is the Olympic National Park.
Isn't
And it
that
was
kind of
tough.
cheating? Because that's in your backyard.
That's exactly why. I love where I live. I love Washington State. I love the Olympic National Park. It's probably my favorite place on earth. When I drive up there, I
Wow.
go, why don't we live here? And then I look at how long I've been driving and I go, oh, that's why. It's too far away from everything.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's one of the few rainforests in America. It's one of the few deciduous rainforests or temperate rainforests, excuse me, temperate rainforests in the world. It's one of
Yeah.
the few. Beautiful, amazing vistas, amazing ecology, beautiful place, and it's my home. I will say the redwoods almost took it. If
Yeah.
I'm being
Because, yeah.
objective,
Yeah.
redwoods is probably, it's hard to say. It might be redwoods, but this is my home. I love Washington, so it's
Yeah,
Olympic.
Hurricane Ridge is in there, right? I
Yep. Oh
love
yeah.
Hurricane Ridge. You can get up to the top of Hurricane Ridge, and for 360 degrees, for 180 degrees, you've got ocean, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
You can see
Uh,
across the Strait of Juan de Fuca.
that's right into Canada. Uh, John,
What do you
what?
got?
How many national parks you been to?
Not a ton. I've been maybe six or seven.
Okay,
Rocky Mountain, I wanted to list them all, but yeah, probably around
I
there.
didn't realize how many I'd been to. I looked up the list of 63, and I've been to 18 of them, and been
Nice.
in the neighborhood of a couple of more. Just didn't go in. But my favorite, and this is interesting because Um, it's my favorite because it stuns you from miles away, and the closer you get, the more
Mm.
stunning it is. And that's the Grand Teton National Park. Everybody goes to Yellowstone, and not far from Yellowstone is Grand Teton. And my goodness, it's jaw dropping. So I'm a mountain guy, and that's why I choose that one. But that's my favorite.
Well,
Uh,
you don't have the sentimentality. You didn't say Rocky Mountain National Park. That's interesting. That's
Well,
your backyard.
I've been to Rocky Mountain National Park twice this summer already, and I plan to go a few more times. In fact, we got a big family reunion coming up. You'll be right here in the Colorado Rockies, John, and I'm going to take
Hmm.
you to Rocky Mountain National Park. So you may add that to your list.
It's a
It's
great park.
amazing. It's a
I've
great
been
park.
been a dozen times. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's elk everywhere there in Estes Park, the town near the park. Uh, we had our buddy Dougal in town and his son, and we went there, and Dougal's wife. And on the golf course in Estes Park, I said, here's where you're going to go see a bunch. So we parked. They walked the golf course and saw 45 elk
Oh my
uh,
goodness.
in one part of the golf course. So they just walked the streets. We found two cow elk walking through town. They stopped traffic. It's a beautiful place, but Grand Teton for me because of the majesty of the mountains. All right, let's dive into this great beginnings, John, because the founding of our nation is a fascinating conversation, and there are some big rocks that I particularly uh, that move me. That I say these. I don't know how these guys thought of this. I don't
Yeah.
know how they agreed to build the country around this. But for you, what are the things when you think about the great beginnings of our country? What are the things that come to your mind?
It's so mythic. It's very interesting. We have a demysticized society, a demysticized worldview as a people right now. but all countries had
Meaning what? Explain that.
meaning. So there were founding myths of all ancient empires. Rome has a founding myth of Romulus and Remus. England has not a founding myth, but a central myth of the Arthurian Camelot and the Round Table.
Oh, okay. King Arthur,
America,
right? Yeah.
yeah. So since it's within written history, we know how America was founded, and it is this mythological history. It is history, and it
Yeah.
has these typographical power, this power behind it. So, from Europe, there's this kingdoms and peoples of the same blood, and then there's this passing through water to a great new land to make a place with no kings and make a place of people with blood from all over the world. And it's this incredible dream. And later it will go on to become this superpower that can distribute justice across the nations. And, the Western world is Christendom, and
Yeah.
America becomes this last great Christian nation without a king. Very, again, that mythological power there is incredible.
Well, especially when you stare for a moment that every nation in Europe from which these people came, they're defined by their ethnicity. Right here
Mhm.
during the World Cup, you had the Scots come down here with their team, and they drank 2 bars out of beer. I mean, those guys, and they're
Uh,
Scots,
yeah,
and so you were Irish, you were Northern Irish, Southern Irish, you were German,
yeah,
you're French, you're English. These things mattered, and your blood, your ethnicity was a huge part of the national identity. And here's the idea that people from a certain blood shared are going to come and build a country that's a new frontier where ethnicity will not be the defining factor of who we are.
and then
And
of course, well,
yeah,
go ahead.
well, I was thinking, the Statue of Liberty, give us you're tired, you're oppressed, you're weary. This heartbeat at first, come from all over the world,
Yeah,
come here. And I'm a little heartbroken that that has taken a beating with all of the uh, with all the discussions around illegal immigration, which is a serious topic. I'm not saying that topic shouldn't matter, but this heartbeat of we are a country of all countries.
yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, me too. And then the great beginnings almost immediately met with hypocrisy because again, an ideal, people are not ideal. When you strive for an ideal, you almost immediately become a hypocrite to an extent.
Yeah.
And so we'll get more into that in the great nation being potentially a good one.
Well, let me talk
Um,
about. Yeah, you mentioned that. I don't know of any other nation on earth that says in its official documents that people are created by God, and that they're
mm,
created by God with certain virtues attached to the fact that we share a common creation. That notion,
yeah,
to include that in the formation of the notion that there is a creator, we are all created by Him, uh, and that we have inalienable rights, rights that belong to every human being, not just the kind with our blood or our ethnicity or our nation. That concept, which we poorly lived out for a long time and still struggle to get it right. But
yeah,
the idea is so powerful and beautiful to be woven into there.
yeah. And this land of potential.
Yeah,
There's Europe is a land of history.
yeah, yeah,
The potential's wrung out. The forests of England are gone. They're there because they're preserved, but that place used to look like Washington State,
yeah.
back in antiquity. And this is Europe. There's, stone streets that are 1,000 years old,
Man,
and wars that go on for centuries in the
yeah,
in the 100-year war between France and England. So you have this kind of spiraling historical place, and you go into a world of with no written history, with the people, but with no written history,
yeah,
and it has enough resources to achieve a million dreams, a billion dreams. These are the
yeah.
kinds of potentials you see in the initial goodness of America.
And when I travel to those places with ancient history, I'm sad that we don't have that.
Yeah,
And what we do as Americans, when a building gets old, we tear it down, build a new one.
yeah,
So even architecturally, we don't cherish old things. And you go and you walk the streets of London, and you're walking around buildings that have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years.
yeah,
So you do get a downside of that, but the goal was adventure, expansion, growth, reach, uh, exploration. All those things are really cool. And here's what's cool is that spirit is very individualistic.
Hmm.
I've noticed if you live in the Rocky Mountains or in the West, people are different because just like in Texas, they're different. Texas is like a whole nother country,
Right.
right? And so you have these ideologies around these places, but they wove in that no man can be trusted with absolute power. Not only are we not going to have a king, we're never going to allow one person to have uh, unfettered, unchecked power. So the
Hmm.
separation of the three branches and the ability for each of them to have limited power, so that it takes shared genius to lead our country. It terrifies me the number of presidential orders we do, and this has been doesn't matter what party you're
Hmm.
in. This is blowing up with every White House.
The inflation of executive order, the
Yeah,
number of orders.
yeah,
Yeah.
it betrays that principle. The
Yeah.
notion that all men, while they have potential and are in God's image, are also flawed and capable of being intoxicated by power.
Yeah.
I love that they embraced that. Um, there's just so much
Well, and then,
that the
yeah.
governors serve at the consent of the governed. And if we don't consent anymore, we'll just yank you right out because you serve at the consent of the governed. What a concept! No one in the world
Yeah.
have done that.
And the founding victory, again, back to this mythical history
Yeah,
that's true and greater than true, is this victory over the old monarchy, the war for independence, that it actually paid off.
yeah.
And this great experiment of a people-led government, of a republic, can go on. Uh, yeah, really, really powerful stuff.
The amount of war that it took, the amount of risk that it took, they were underdogs by a million miles. I read the other day that less than 1% of all the inhabitants of the earth historically in history, less than 1% had free speech, freedom of religion,
Hmm.
or voted for their leaders. We have all three for 250 years. Less than 1% of the history of the population of the world had one of those.
Yeah,
It's something we take for granted easily. It's the air we breathe. It's the water we're in. You know, hey, one fish to another. How's the water today? What do you mean?
yeah,
What's
yeah.
water? It's so much of what we've done that it's easy to disregard it, to not appreciate it, and certainly not cherish it and give it the honor and the
Yeah.
willingness to fight for it that it deserves.
And if you're listening to this and going, you guys are sentimental idiots. He's saying this country is way. We're going to get to the complications here in just a second. We want to start with the promise,
The
the
yes,
incredible promise that the country has in its foundation.
and just like any one of us human beings, the hypocrisy of our nation knows no bounds.
Yeah,
So we're going to tell the truth about that because there's a ton of hypocrisy in all of that, in the way it got lived out. But here's action items for this one, John. I'll go first. Pray for your country, man. Knowing that this is the heartbeat it came from, this is why I am a pretty hard rule constitutionalist. I believe that the Constitution is a sacred document, that it means what it means and it says what it says, and it's not a living document. It doesn't morph with years, it is fixed. I'm a big believer in that. But everything's changing, and we believe that praying for your country is an incredibly important thing to do. So
yeah.
pray for your country.
You pray for your enemies, remember. So if you think I don't even love my country, pray
Yeah,
for it even more. Pray for it
yeah,
even harder.
yeah,
I think that's huge. Another action item idea, and these again, we use a lot of action items to stimulate your imagination
yeah,
and make you think of your own life. What can I take away from this to implement? And if you come up with your own action items, all the better.
yep.
Another idea, action item for quarter one: read one page of the Declaration or the Federalist Papers this week to get kind of go back into that initial mindset for the country.
Man, these are easy documents to access. The Declaration of Independence is fascinating reading. And then the Federalist Papers, all those heading up, great, great reading, good assignment. All right, John,
Yeah.
quarter two.
Quarter two: can a great nation become a good one? So this is, yeah, uh, that hypocrisy you mentioned. It takes 100 years. Immediately, we say all men are created equal. It doesn't matter what your blood is,
Mm-hmm.
and then we subjugate an entire race of people, a few hundred at a time, taking them across the ocean, And the only light at the end of that tunnel is that we eventually paid for that hypocrisy in our own blood in the Civil
Mhm.
War.
Mhm.
And there's an amazing, I won't tangent with John Brown, but if you don't know who John Brown is, look him up. This abolitionist before the war who predicted the war. He said, "This is such a great sin on our part that it will only be undone with our own blood."
Wow.
And then another more than 100 years of hypocrisy, and then the civil rights movement, and finally some good reforms. All that to say, a great country in power and in promise and in mythical
Ideology.
might,
Yeah.
ideology, and then but it lacks goodness in its hypocrisy and its treatment of the vulnerable and its treatment of less advanced peoples that we drove out. You know.
You know, it reminds me of the truth that is true for each of us individually, that your weaknesses are typically your strengths that go across boundaries. Like they just
Mm,
get pushed too far.
sure.
So you have these guys, these people who feel like God has participated in the foundation of our nation. I
Yeah.
don't care if you want to argue about whether it's a Christian nation or not. Let's set that aside. These guys believe that God participated in helping them craft this, understand this, and draft it. And John Quincy Adams said, the first thing we should do after signing this document is pray for our country.
Mhm.
But that strength also led to the concept of manifest destiny, where they consider themselves like the children of Israel leaving Egypt and going into the promised land, where they had the manifest destiny to possess all of that land, regardless of who already had it and who they had to conquer to do it. And
Mhm.
this was not uncommon in the world. I mean, every land has been conquered multiple times. It never belonged to anyone. It's always been fought over. But this manifest destiny was a bridge too far, where it was this uh, in our 1024 we said, that you have this beautiful Declaration of Independence, and you have the Trail of Tears. If you don't know what the Trail of Tears are, just Google that, and you'll see some brutal history of how we migrated these tribal Indians across the country from, I think it was 1830 to 1850. Uh, thousands of them died as we migrated them to Oklahoma and put them on reservations. And
Mhm.
uh, I don't know how you feel about all that. The point is, there was a lot of brutality involved. There was
Yeah.
slavery involved. There was a lot there. Um, and so then you have John. This is one of the topics I think you that grabs your heart.
Yeah.
Is then you have this collision of building empires, and now the spirit of mammon in our country is intense. I mean, we invented the stock market, which is the most lucrative way for all Americans to build wealth. And yet we also have this spirit of mammon sitting over the top of us.
Yeah. This is the again, think about the potential of the normal man, truly normal, the
Mm-hmm.
average man. Think about it in serfdom in a medieval sort of structure. Think about it as a someone under a monarch, where your blood again that blood that heritage is everything. And then we go into a nation where your blood will no longer count for anything. We say
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Mm-hmm.
promise.
Mm-hmm.
And the average man can now achieve well, almost anything. We still have there's a reason we have this hatred for the Nepo babies. You hear about this? You,
Nepo
you
babies?
you find out, oh man, my favorite actor is a Nepo baby. You haven't heard of that? It's where
No.
they're actually the child of a famous director or writer or
Oh,
actor.
the
And they,
nepotism baby.
yes,
Yeah.
they didn't make it. And you find out, Donald Trump's small loan of $1 million,
Right,
all
right.
these things. We love the man who just
Came out of
ascended.
nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the stock market is the main function that we do things like that a normal American can achieve wealth or can open his own business and the mammon spirit in that is the reason why everything you love is worse now. Because if you're trying to go all the way up into the right forever and your whole thing is not a good, healthy company, it has to be a growing company ad infinitum forever, which means if we're good, but our products, we can make more money if we make these things break sooner or dilute the alloy or lay off a third of our factories or export the factories, we're going to do it. And that leads to this uh,
That's a great
perversity.
contrast because the stock market may be the greatest universal wealth creating machine in the history of the world, accessible to anybody who will participate in it. And it creates expectations and rules. For example,
Hmm.
uh, the ethics of being a CEO. You know, you got that CEO gunned down in New York City when he walked out of a hotel because we demonize these guys.
When
And
he was
one
health, that's healthcare also,
that's
but
healthcare also,
keep
but
going.
it's a double whammy. But
Yeah.
we demonize these high wealth individuals because here's the ethics of being a CEO. You make decisions that increase the profits for your shareholders.
Hmm.
That's it. That's the singular metric you're measured by. Not virtue, not generosity, not making the world a better place, not global advancement. It is return on investment for the shareholders. That's the single metric. And you're
Yeah.
obligated ethically to make every decision that funds and rewards shareholders. So that's a myopic view. And so this strength can become a real danger.
Yeah. There's also the kind of greatness and goodness in one is the general virtue of peace. Rome, a terribly brutal place to be. But before Rome, which is kind of a nice foil for America,
Yeah.
before Rome had the power it had, that whole region, the ancient Near East, was a very volatile place. Travel was not a given. You were probably
Mhm.
going to be you could come into brigands or anything could happen, even wild animals. The peace of Rome, the Pax Romana, is this. It's a new thing. It was centuries of
Mhm.
order, and it's what allowed the gospel to spread. It's what allowed relative peace, even if it meant the punishment for criminals
Mhm.
was terrible deaths. This is the virtue of peace that even a terrible pagan strength like Rome can achieve.
Yeah.
So America has a similar thing. There is peace, let alone in our country, because it'd be almost impossible to invade such a place, but more peace in the world because of a country like America. So there is a bit of the virtue in there. But I do when you see the gap, Dad, between the greatness of America and a good place, what's bridging those, or what could bridge those?
Well, I think that the connection is the gap between great and good of every human. We
Mm,
are image bearers of God, so we carry in us this divine DNA, this handiwork of God formed in our mother's womb, full of promise. And we carry in us the depravity of sin. And so, even the gap for us to go from great design to good function is a challenge. And so, you multiply that by the number of people involved. Your mom and I went to Rome for our 40th anniversary. One of the most amazing, it's the best vacation I've ever had. And walking the roads that were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and going to this road called the Appian Way. This road led out of Rome. Rome had they were the developer of long roads, and this road that goes out of town, where they had crucified slaves every 500 feet for 200 miles because of a
man,
slave uprising, and they wanted every slave to know, don't you ever take us on again. This is what happens to you. So, that is in the heart of man. And so the question that we really want to consider is, are we too far gone as a country? And can we move toward goodness, not just greatness, not just a financial power in the world, which we
mhm,
are the wealthiest nation in the world, not just the military power in the world, not just the culture creating power of the world. We are all of those. But can we become good? Can we become a good place? And can we lean hard towards moving toward a good place? I think that's a
yeah,
really legitimate question.
yeah, and then I think a lot of that will be our quarter four about dual citizenship and real mercy and care for the vulnerable. A lot of that will come in there where I think that's a great uh, bringing the national to the personal
Yeah.
and working it out that way. So I think we'll have some really good conversation here.
And we'll get there next in quarter three because we're going to talk about the kind of man America needs now. And
Yeah.
now we need good men. So
Yeah.
let's do one action item, John, for this quarter. What do you got?
For quarter two, our one action item suggestion is to name one place in that your own hometown benefited from the dream and one place that paid the bill for the hypocrisy
Mm.
of America. That's an interesting one. A lot of people don't know their hometown history, so that could be beneficial in two ways.
I agree. We talk a lot about rootedness, which is a real contrast with the American formation. They
Hmm.
left rootedness in their homeland and went on an adventure. And part of the American, if you'll watch the speech that John puts in the comments there, he talks about all the parts of the country where his family has lived as they have chased their dreams. And that's part of who we are. And yet we should also be rooted. So even if you move to a town for a short time, learn the history of the town because there's a rootedness there that's even rootedness within this American impulse to chase and dream.
Hmm.
And so search the rootedness of your town. And this is an interesting idea. In what ways did your town benefit from all of that? And in what ways did your town have a reflection or a suffering from the hypocrisy that we still work through from our ideology to our practice?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, one quick one in Olympia, the empty breweries from exporting and the
mm,
massive layoffs that happened in Olympia in the 80s. So you can see the growth of it and the beauty of like the Deschutes, kind of
yeah.
the infrastructure there. And then you can see just this massive carcass of what public trading did to a home industry.
And it is a massive eyesore carcass right in the heart of the town with this beautiful river that flows right through it. And it's not being developed because the costs of all of the, what do they call that, John, when you clean up a toxified spot? That's called a what? What?
Oh, containment or something like that.
Boy, in Montana, they had a bunch of those. Anyway, the building itself is it's just so expensive to do anything to it. And because we're beholden to profitability, um, it's a challenge to get that eyesore out of there. And it's been there a long, long, long time.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into halftime. Instead of a book this week, we're taking a little break from books. We've recommended so many.
Yeah.
I'm frankly going to run out of books to talk about if we keep going. We're going to talk about our favorite favorite movie about America and our favorite American art form. As such a young country, there's not a ton of the art form to choose from. So you go first. What are your favorite movies about America and American art form?
Well, I was torn between two movies, and there's a bunch of them, man. There are so many great movies that have Americana in them. Some of them brutal and some of them beautiful. For me, the movie Lincoln.
Mm,
Um, man, I love that movie because Lincoln is one of my favorite historical figures to have led in bipartisan ways and navigate the most complicated part of our American history in terms of conflict, to be killed for that passion of his. It's a great movie. What's the guy's name that plays Lincoln, John?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day Lewis crushes that. Sally Fields is his wife. It lets you behind the curtain there of what that was like. It's just incredible. The other one I love is called Hostiles, and it is about right after the Civil War, a soldier is instructed to carry uh, a tribal chief to his home native lands to die. He's got cancer, and this tribal chief had killed lots of American soldiers. This soldier had killed lots of Indians, and it's them finding relationship and respect for each other on this journey that he would never want to take.
Mhm.
Brutally harsh and incredibly powerful. Uh, Art form, I got to go country music. You know, we created that. It's ours. Uh, Everybody in the world wants some. Uh,
I
it
don't know
is.
if that's true.
It's going to be played in heaven. Uh,
Oh man.
it's the best, and so I'm really proud of America and country music.
You can keep it. Uh, my favorite, I'm gonna do a little pivot actually, thinking more about it. My favorite movie about America is maybe Thief. And I might have already talked about this on here, but it's a ex-convict who's trying to make up time. And he has this dream board. It's very funny that this tough ex-convict has what's basically a Pinterest board.
Yeah.
But he carries around in his wallet. And it's these photos of a family and of the house and of the car and of the American dream. And he steals diamonds to kind of make up time in his life. and he ends up, he's a freelancer. It's a very American. He ends up basically signing on to work for this brutal mob boss. There's this amazing speech the mob boss does to the effect of, "You're going to work for me till you're nothing, till you're dead, till
Mm.
you're." It's this corporate greed versus the
I
individual
own you.
dream.
Yeah.
I own. It's very, and it's Michael Mann. It's in Chicago in the 70s, and there's neon and smoke, and it's amazing. It's a great movie. The other would probably be Nope, the most recent movie by Jordan Peele. It's basically it's Jaws meets like a Western entertainment horror. It's about the spectacle, and it's about predators, natural predators, and the spectacle of predators, and being watched, and trying to capture, harness nature to make a dream. Their ranch is dying, and they basically need a picture of Jaws to save their ranch. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's very much about America.
Okay, so uh, I'm gonna give you counterpoint here. Thief is good.
Yeah.
I don't get it, your love for it, but it's good. And Nope is an amazing movie. I'm struggling to catch the Americana connection to it, uh, but it is a great movie.
There's there's a
Once again,
reason
John, your intellect, truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
There's a reason that Nope couldn't be set in the Scottish Highlands with the sheep farmer. It has
Right.
to be set in America with horses in America. And it's this ranch they would sell. They would have horses for commercials and for movies that
Yeah,
need
yeah,
horses. This
yeah,
Hollywood ranch, and it's dying. And they have this dream. And the entertainment industry in America. It's set in Orange County.
yeah.
It's very American in my
It
opinion.
is.
But
It is very American. You're right. All right.
but
Yeah.
my
Go
art
ahead.
form, I got to say, last but
Okay.
not
Oh yeah,
least,
art form. Yeah.
my American art form is obviously jazz music.
Yeah.
It's more American than maybe anything we've ever done. Its
Hmm.
power is diversity. The more diverse, the more jazz it is. It's like it's a quantitative, qualitative
Yeah.
synthesization dream. And there's Latin jazz, Afro jazz, there's the classic jazz. It's it gets me so fired up. It is exactly everything that America should be is jazz music. And if you need a recommendation, I've got you. Just comment in the videos. If you say I don't like jazz, I'll point you in the right direction. We got good stuff.
Okay. So since we belabored this point, give me if I'm gonna stick my toe in the water of jazz, where do you point me?
Edge, an album by Takuya Kuroda, not American,
I knew
funny
you were gonna say
enough.
Takuya Kuroda, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna go out of the country for the
Yeah.
first.
Well,
Okay.
because so America, we've developed. This is how it works. America is developing in jazz, and the rest of the world kind of begins at a more accessible level.
Yeah.
So right now, American jazz is very avant-garde. You want American jazz? Do Roy Hargrove's Ear Food from the early 2000s. He died in 2008. A young, brilliant musician died of a stomach cancer, I think. Ear Food by Roy Hargrove, or a living young musician, I would do uh, Kamasi Washington. I would do his EP, not the epic. I would do Harmony of Difference, is what it's called. Really, really good. But it's very choral and very avant-garde. That's why I recommend Edge by Takuya Kuroda. And that's the last we'll say about jazz music.
Okay. Quarter three, the men America needs right now. We don't need jazz musicians exclusively. We need something else. So, John,
Yeah.
here's the answer to have we gone too far? Did we go too far in great over good? Did we go too far chasing dollars, chasing advancement, chasing dreams, chasing? Uh, it was never a policy problem first, it was a people problem. So, what does that tell us about what America needs in our young men now?
I think so it needs young men who have the reins, who are willing to grab the reins. So
Mhm.
the abuses we see in the abuses that America has allowed to happen in the financial system and in the political system and the corruption we see where those two come together. Um, it also allowed the your favorite restaurant. It also allowed your favorite movies and music
Mhm. Mhm.
and your one of our dearest friends who had this company that his dad started and he ran faithfully his entire life and then sold it and has this beautiful retirement with his wife and his kids are nearby. Uh, those are all made possible by the same thing that makes the abuses possible. But the one thing in common is you have to act, you have to do.
Hmm.
And there's this passivity and the pessimism and passivity go hand in hand.
They do.
Young men say, "Well, I can't get a house, I can't start a business." Women and men hate each other right now, so the dating is a mess. The digital technology is a mess, and I'm so downtrodden about it that I'm not going to try.
I'm just checking out.
Yeah, yep. Checking out's a perfect way to put it. So we need men that actually would say, um, that would go out on faith, I guess, and take their life in their own hands.
Well, and that leads to one of the things all those founders had in common is they were very serious people. They had lots of fun.
Hmm.
They were rambunctious. If you saw Hamilton, that's just a dabble into, they loved adventure. They had pride. They would do, duels for your honor, but they were serious. They thought about serious things. They read serious works. They thought about concepts like freedom, like the banking system that would be required to pull something like this off, like
Hmm.
government structures where people can flourish and not be destroyed by a bad leader ever, never be subjugated to one leader. They were serious guys, and we have lost so much of our sense of seriousness. It's like we accept the world given to us. We don't think about how the world could be better. We don't think about how our efforts could actually redirect the course of
Well,
history.
you wrote that seriousness word in our 1024.
Yeah,
It leapt out at me because even this pessimism is kind of with a laugh.
yeah,
This kind of everything's a joke. It's so sad, it's funny. Like if we're like we're just gonna laugh because otherwise we have to cry.
yeah,
We'll make a joke out of anything.
yeah.
The day something terrible happens, there's a meme about it. So this seriousness is I mean maybe the most culturally novel thing about us right now. This is not something, there's satire in the colonial era, but there wasn't this level of flippancy about things that are really a big deal.
Yeah.
So serious young men, and even saying that, it's almost like, oh, it's like people act like if you try, you think people are going to laugh at you. Look at this guy, he's actually trying. You know, that
Yeah.
kind of
You might be
mindset.
embarrassed at trying hard.
Exactly. Like we should be so too cool, ironic that it would be a joke to try because of course the world's not going to let you do that.
Well, when you become a student of serious things, people say he nerded out on it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
uh, you're separating from the crowd by nerding out on something that you thought was worthy of deeper exploration. And
Yeah.
so we say nerd out away, man, nerd away, and then match that seriousness with courage,
Mm.
because not recklessness, but courage. Uh, One of the lacking virtues in our culture is the courage to stand out, to be different, to chase something other people don't chase, to advocate for someone who can advocate for themselves, to hold a contrarian view. People are punished. This is one of my favorite books ever. A Failure of Nerve says that
Mm.
leadership is diminishing because uh, in an anxiety driven culture, people punish leaders, and
Mm.
they label them as selfish. And why don't you join us in our anxiety? And to stand up and say we don't have to be afraid. There's something here we can do that differentiates yourself. And we need young men who are courageous, who will work hard and be courageous.
Yeah. Yeah, the work hard is a huge part of that. There's seriousness and courage and even having a dream. Again, so much of America is built on dreams
Yeah,
and the potential, even if it gets slimmer every year, the potential to achieve your dreams. But the hard work is where it actually comes, it's where it comes to the surface.
yeah.
I recently, one of my favorite videos on writing, I just saw again, I sent to you, Dad. And it's about basically the process that the thing is the thing, that writing is the whole point. It's not
Hmm.
publishing isn't the point, the writing's the point. And he says, a Pulitzer Prize winner who hasn't written in a year is less of a writer than the 16-year-old girl who journals every day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing, is that nothing counts unless it's actually being brought into the world. So the hard work is another part of that. And it's not, you have a differentiation between hard work and busyness. Tell me about
Right.
that.
Well, a lot of us stay busy, man. We're just busier than we've ever been. We don't have margin. The margin is the outside of the paper that you don't write on. in our time, we have no margin. So we're pushing it to the edges, or we're isolating and filling our life with consumption with no
Mhm.
margin. But either way, that's busyness rather than hard work. Hard work is not that I work all the time. It's that I work smart, I work hard, and I work focused. I know what I care about, and I care about enough about it to get out of bed to do more. And I
Yeah.
think the one way that all of that ties together is that one thing the founding fathers had in common is they were voracious readers. Every founder you can name was reading constantly. And this is fascinating to me because we have more access to books and stuff than they did, but they read history and law and scripture and philosophy and uh, government, government formation. They read a lot of stuff, and we will continue to say to you, young men, that one of the greatest ways you can invest in yourself and in the world is to be a reader. So that's part of that. I'm going to use a portion of my free time. I'm going to game less and read more. I'm
Hmm.
going to stare at screens less and read books more. And I'm going to read things I've never read about. And I'm going to
Yeah.
learn things. So I just think, what kind of men does America need now? It needs men who will be courageous, who will be brave, who will be serious about stuff, who will realize that there are things that matter and they're worthy of our time and attention and energy, and they'll read. I don't know. What would you add to all that?
Yeah, no, that I think the seriousness in the reading, there's a real strong thread there
Yeah.
that yeah, you can dance on the surface of a million topics on YouTube,
Yeah.
but if you want to get serious about a thing, there's only one way to do it.
Yeah.
But when you read, the way I keep saying it is you interface with this topic and with this thought and with this material on a much deeper level than you can anyway else. So that's huge. I think all of those together. And if you're saying, well, this could lead down a very materialistic, capitalistic burnout kind of alpha finance bro grind set, quarter four is where where this check meets its balance, basically.
That's good.
Uh, yeah,
All right. So, action items. Number one, pick one book this month that stretches you, not for entertainment, not even for formation, but for education, to get your arms around something you never got your arms around.
yeah.
Pick one book this month that does
We chose a bad episode to not recommend books, I guess. We're talking so much about reading, but we'll get back around to it.
we will.
Another action item idea would be to name a young man in your life and do one specific thing this week to call him towards seriousness, towards a dream. I know a lot of creatives, and it's kind of like this. They have these projects in their brains, and they're almost waiting for permission. I think encouragement and permission are almost the
Yeah.
same thing. To
Yeah.
encourage somebody is to tell them that they have everything they need to go and do something.
I love enthusiasm, and
Yeah.
that word is into theos, God. So when you're
Mm,
enthusiastic to some young man about leaning into a serious exploration journey, doing something serious, even if it's writing a journal every day, as that small example. When you pour enthusiasm into there, you're putting God into them and it fires them up
mhm.
and it helps them. So do that for somebody this week. All right, John, we're going to pivot to quarter four, which is dual citizenship, how to be a great citizen of two places at the same time. And this is where my breakdown comes with all the Christian nationalism thing
Yeah.
is that the tone of my Christian nationalist type friends is the American way, not the kingdom way. So
Yeah.
um, they will they can sometimes celebrate the mistreatment of illegal aliens in our country when the gospel calls them to champion the alien, the orphan, and the widow.
Mhm.
And so that's just one tiny example. So how can we be great citizens of two places at once?
That's a really good example is the immigration because you can support on a policy level the stronger borders on a political stance and then have a broken heart for the vulnerable who are more poor than almost any natural born American citizen. So
Yeah.
um, I think Rome is a great, again, going back there is a great tool here. As far as what are the Christians in Rome, like if you were a Christian citizen in pagan Rome before it was Christianized, how would you be a good Roman citizen? It's like, well, the country is, persecuting you,
Right.
and they're enemies of the slave and the vulnerable, and they
Yep.
have these terrible sexual ethics.
Yep.
And you go, but it's your country. Like the Pax Romana is what makes is keeping this part of the world together. And we're called to pray for those in authority over us because they distribute justice. And when the barbarians were kind of picking Rome apart on the edges, a Christian might have been tempted to celebrate and go, finally, this terrible country that's been killing my people
Hmm.
is getting its comeuppance. But no, the actual Christian move would be to pray that Rome would be strong against the barbarians and continue to be a better and better and greater nation. So
Yeah.
there is, but the Christians in the meantime are taking care of the vulnerable among themselves and among their communities to kind of shore up the weaknesses of their country.
A classic example, Rome made me think of this. There's a movie years ago, I think it's called The Apostle Paul or Paul the Apostle. Didn't do great. But what they captured really well in that film was Paul is imprisoned in Rome and Christians are being crucified. Nero is lighting them up on crosses at night for
Yeah.
torches for parties. Christians are being brutally treated. And the Christians keep gathering together, and they 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 ask Paul for advice as they sort out, should the Christians flee Rome,
Mm.
or is God asking them to stay in a land of persecution as a witness for the kingdom? And they did a great job of those guys wrestling with that. And what they ended up doing as the local body of believers was giving each family liberty to make that choice on their own. So some with small children fled, and some said, we believe God has called us to be a witness for Christ in the center of persecution. We will not leave. And so that's one idea about being a citizen of two countries. In your American red blood, you want solid borders, and borders are boundaries. They define things. Every nation needs a boundary and a border. But then what do we do with children who were born here, whose parents came illegally, just as an example? Or if I come across someone who is an illegal, who is on the street bleeding, do I care for them the same way, or do I say, you shouldn't even be here? You don't deserve kindness? All of these complexities, it is our kingdom compass that has to guide us, even when it doesn't guide our country. And so how to live in those two ways is really a challenge. And I think it's important for Christians to advocate the king of their kingdom, the values of the kingdom of God, the virtues of morality and ethics and beauty, and hold all of their leaders accountable to it, even if they're in the party you love. That
Mhm.
we have the freedom. In fact, this is the prophetic voice that God calls Christians to be in whatever part of the world they're in, is to demonstrate, to be a living demonstration. Here's what God would say in this situation. Here's how God would move in this situation. He's incarnated us to incarnate him on the earth, and that's our highest calling.
Yeah, and even then, it's such an opportunity because if America via welfare, via in the literal sense, as an institution, is taking care of the poor and vulnerable, then glory be to America, not glory be to God's church.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, what it's an opportunity for God's church to be the one that is meeting the needs of the vulnerable in the shadow of kind of a great, strong empire, and the glory goes to God instead.
Yeah.
I have a quote. We've talked a lot about rootedness in this podcast, what we mean by in general in a few episodes of this
Mm-hmm.
podcast. And I have a dilemma here that I need your help with. What we mean by that is locally focused living, not trying not to move for flippant reasons, trying to not treat houses like only financial investments, but as headquarters for a family
Mm-hmm.
through generations.
Yeah.
This kind of in modern American terms, very radical, seemingly opposed to that Ross Douthat video, with this kind of pride in our nomad heritage and moving to chase dreams. So I get excited for both. I get excited,
Mhm.
my country or my family is spread out like that. My family history is spread out like that, moving all over the country to do things. And we have no ancestral home that, great grandma, great grandpa built with his own hands.
Right.
That doesn't exist for us. So I'm in love with the rootedness, and yet I get excited and I'm kind of proud of our rootlessness.
Hmm.
I have a buddy who can't get a house. He just got married. He's 27, and he can't find work, and he can't get a house. He lives here in Washington, where we have like some of the worst housing inventory in the entire country. And he had an opportunity to move to Georgia for work, and he would have been able to buy a house. And he didn't end up doing it, but I didn't even know how to advise him because I
Mm.
thought part of me wanted to go, dude, go do it. Go get this house and take your wife there and start a family and chase and build a career in Georgia because this state is too hard for you to do that right now. But his both of their families are here, his family and her family. And that's a microcosm of the rootlessness versus rootedness. Can you help me synthesize or reach some kind of resolution on this?
I wish I could. You know, as I get closer to retirement, I watch retirees do a handful of different things. Some, I worked all my life, now it's my time. And
Yeah.
some will even say that, announce that it's my time now. This is time for me and your mom. We busted our butts. We raised a family. We did the hard thing. We did the good thing. Now this is our time. And they play. They play till they can't play anymore because they either run out of money or physical strength. And there's others who say, I can retire in Costa Rica and I can live there on Social Security like a rich man
Hmm.
versus living like a pauper if I stay here. And so they chase economic viability in retirement in a beautiful tropical place. And then I think, well, I want to be near my kids. And what do I do? And do my kids even need me anymore? How much do they want or need me in their lives? And what role do I play? Those are all legitimate struggles. So we're not minimizing that there's a right or wrong answer to this question. I think that's the
Hmm.
first thing. Um, I think that in a country of mental health, this would be my one of the things I would cling to. In a country of mental health battles, more anxiety than ever before, more depression than ever before, rootedness actually is a great medicine for that.
Mm.
Rootedness is a context where health can be pursued and sustained. I would say easier. Um, but I'm being idealistic now because some people need to get away from certain parts of their dysfunctional toxic family to
Yeah.
have peace. So that can also be true.
What do you think about this terrific quote, T.S. Eliot, the first book I recommended in our podcast, The Four Quartets? And he says the end of all our searching will be to arrive where we started and to know it as if for the first time, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Is this an eras of life thing that for a young man and his kind of nascent family,
Hmm.
they should feel free without obligation to to pursue and build in a kind of detached way. And then when they have children and they're raising them up, they need a rootedness for their children. And then maybe when those kids are up out of the house, they maintain that rootedness for their kids to have that kind of return. They go and they return to the place they started from and know it as if for the first time, and they return home. That's very archetypal, but is there anything there? Would that solve this tension?
Well, you talking about all that made me realize where, in fact, I do land. Now I have clarity, John. Thank you for
Mm,
processing that. Here's what I would say: that you can live like a rooted person even if you migrated. So,
mm,
um, so uh, I live in a neighborhood where most people open their electric garage door opener as they pull in the driveway. The garage door goes down before anybody ever sees them, and they never come outside except to cut the grass. And they don't know their neighbors, or if they live in apartments, they don't know their neighbors. They're not embedding. That's another thing to root is to embed. And the other day on the 4th of July, I'm walking my dog that morning, right about 11 o'clock in the morning, And these guys are setting up cornhole and lawn chairs, and they are two neighbors in my neighborhood. And they introduced themselves to me, and they said, if you don't have any plans for lunch, grab your family, come on down here. We're cooking. They had two grills rolled out
Wow.
front. They said, we just want to throw a party and meet our neighbors because none of us knows each other.
And you said, you guys aren't from around here, are you? We don't do that around here.
Right. And, our neighborhood in Tenino, Washington had that same rooted commitment to each other. And I felt more rooted there in terms of a community than I have ever in my life anywhere. So I think you can choose a rooted life wherever you are and let
Yeah.
rootedness be something of a value that you chase, just like because some people are military families and you are
Yeah.
serving at the behest of the government. They'll move you when they want to, where they need you every time. Other people have career ladders they're climbing, and the only way to get a better job is to relocate with the company to a new place. So you can't demonize, well, you just don't value rootedness. No, my life requires mobility. And so I would say chase a rooted way of life. Because what happens when you're highly mobile, you say, well, I'm not going to get to know my neighbors because I'm just going to move in 2 years anyway,
Yeah.
or whatever. So I
Well,
think what,
yeah, I no,
yeah,
that's huge. I immediately think about Paul and a nomad for the entire second half of his life.
yeah,
But every place he goes to is like a stake driver, just embedded.
yeah,
And he stays there and he lives and he works there and he goes deep for as long as God will have him there.
yeah.
And then he's on to the next. So that's that kind of rooted mindset that comes to mind. A pretty powerful image.
Well, it's interesting because he's first known as Saul of Tarsus,
Hmm.
but I don't know that he ever goes back to Tarsus once he becomes Paul and does this great mission for God.
I think
So,
we have all of his movements until his death, so I don't think so.
yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
So chase a rooted life and live a rooted way of life. Treat your neighbors like they've been your neighbors for decades, even though they've been your neighbor for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Give them that weight in your life and be that committed to their flourishing. Serve them. Know the history of your town, as we mentioned earlier. You can pursue rootedness even if you're just a long term tourist there.
Yeah, and that would be the I think we would say that is the Christian way to do it. That is being a citizen of both kingdoms is a way to do it.
Yeah, which is what the Lord called when they went into captivity. Pray for the nation within which you are held captive, because as they prosper, you will prosper. So
Yeah,
be a person who contributes to prosperity wherever you go, the goodness, the wholeness of wherever you're at. All right, that's
man.
man. I hope that's helpful because these things matter to us. These are serious topics, and you might say that's too serious for me. I don't care about that enough. We hope you care about it. Let's give
We hope you be
last two,
serious too.
yeah, last two action items, John, and then we'll wrap this up.
All right. First action item for quarter four. This week, do one concrete thing for an alien, orphan, or widow in your actual life. I would say either a donation or a physical presence, just being present with them,
Hmm.
or being rooted with those people. That's a
Yep.
big one. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, meeting a real need.
Yeah, so these two action items touch on the two like distortions of our country right now. One is who's advocating for those who cannot advocate for themselves. So do some of that. The second one is wealth creation is an absolute obsession in our country,
Yeah.
and you can predict national elections based on the economy alone. When the economy's flourishing, the incumbent gets reelected, and when it's not, he doesn't. And so, wealth is a big deal, man. We need money. We need to be resourced. But as you acquire wealth, ask yourself, where's my wealth serving me, and where's my wealth serving something bigger than me and more than me, and am I defined by my wealth? So
Hmm.
generosity would be the antidote to this impulse that we have to acquire, 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 grow, 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 spend on ourselves, enjoy, treat ourselves well. Where is your money doing more than that? And find a way for your money to do more than that at whatever income level you happen to be, because
Yeah.
everyone can be generous.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Really, really good. I hope this is I know we go on tangents because we get excited about things, me specifically. I hope this has been helpful And really, this conversation for me was very edifying in what can be a dark time for the country. One
Agreed.
of the things that helps for me is that it's all dark times. I learned the other day there was such unrest in the 70s with kind of the hippie movement
Hmm.
in the 60s that there was it reminded me of the Palestine stuff.
Hmm.
There were riots on college campuses and they burned down a student center. You know,
Wow.
this is the 70s. I would have thought this is the end. Now
Yeah.
we have this kind of unrest, and it doesn't even get that bad. We had these crazy college kids protesting about the Israel-Palestine war. It didn't even get as bad as it did in the 70s.
Yeah.
So don't get a unrealistically myopic view of how bad the times are right now, because they've been bad before, and there's probably good times ahead.
So there are real problems going on in our country and real things that need to be talked about. How do we handle these kinds of issues? But to add that Christian compass to your conversation and to have grace and seriousness, research, to be a reader, a thinker, these are great ways for us to make our country better. I fell more in love with America in this week of our 250th than I have been in a long, long time. I hope you did too.
That's great. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We don't talk much about our YouTube channel because it's really just a vehicle for the podcast. We
Hmm.
really encourage people to subscribe to our via email so that if you want to unplug from social media or spend less time there, you would still get this episode right to your inbox. But if you're on YouTube all the time, go ahead and subscribe anyway. And a comment would help too, just to let us know if you hate jazz music or if you hate country music or
Yeah.
episode topic ideas. We would love to hear from you. So that would be a huge encouragement to us.
Yep. We want to serve you well and we want to serve more as many people as possible free of charge. So help spread the word. We appreciate it. All
Awesome.
right, man, have a great day and God bless America.